Good morning, brothers and sisters. Happy Anshiel. Our recording did not upload, so I am just reading to you at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs about our reading today. The way of filial children, patriots, saints, and divine sons and daughters, and it's on the family pledge that we did today. Number 2, our family. The owner of Cheon Seong Gyeong, pledges to represent become central to heaven and earth by attending the heavenly parent and true parents. And we pledge to perfect the dutiful family way of filial sons and daughters in our family, patriots in our nations, saints in the world, and divine sons and daughters in heaven, in heaven and on earth by centering on true love. So it's here on the family pledge. So our reading today coincides with on page 346 of the Cheon Seong Gyeong, and number 54, from the way, subtopic, the way of filial sons, of filial children, patriots, saints, and divine sons and daughters. Even though the ways of a filial child, a patriot, a saint, and a divine son or daughter differ, they belong to one sequence. In this world, the love of filial children it's moving. For their parents lasts for but one generation. The love of a patriot is confined to one nation. But if you move centered on true love, your path remains forever. When an ancestor sets up this foundation, it will endure even if his own children cannot continue it. When anyone in the future builds on his foundation, his merit will increase. For this reason, the more we fulfill the duties of the filial children, patriots, saints, and divine sons and daughters, centering on the direction of true love, the more we will progress, never to retreat. So 55, now on page 347. Have you ever considered that God wants you to be a filial child in your family, a patriot for your nation, a saint for the world, and a divine son or daughter before heaven and earth? Looking at history, all the main founders of religion taught people to be filial children and also to become patriots, saints, and divine sons and daughters. Religions that did not teach this have not survived. It is your destiny as human beings to become such people. Destiny concerns what cannot be changed, such as the relationship between parents and children. Fortune, on the other hand, refers to things that you can change. You can change your fortune, but you cannot change your destiny. 56. You can be victorious only when you go the way of the will, with the title of a devoted son or daughter in front of God. You have to become the princes and princesses who are obedient to God and committed to take responsibility for the 6,000-year history of sin and evil. Just as Jesus set the standard of a devoted filial son when he said, "Yet not what I want, but what you want on Matthew chapter 26, verse 39. You should also set the standard of a filial child and say, in the end, Satan surrendered to me. Only then can you enter kingdom of heaven. In this way you will become the ancestor of, or ancestors of the word, the ancestors of substance, the ancestors of heart, the ancestors of obedience, and ancestors of lineage. 57. A filial son will disregard himself, his wife, and his children in order to follow his parents. Such is the path of a filial son. The path that we walk in the path of the will, and the path of the will that we walk is the path of love. To love is to place the greater good ahead of oneself. This is the way the way of the will is the way of love. 58. A filial child is someone who is faithful to his or her parents out of love for them. A patriot is someone who loves his or her country, and a saint, that is, a world-level saint, is someone who loves the world. Divine sons and daughters are people who love and uphold the authority of the palace in the heavenly kingdom. Hence, as people who hold the will in your heart, if you follow the way of the will with the hope that you will be respected by all the people of the world, that your names will be known throughout the world for upholding the will, then you must become warriors who can shine more than anyone else on the path of suffering. So 59, for the sake of his nation, a patriot will sell his land. He will sell his cows and pigs. He will continue in this way even if it means that he cannot afford to send his sons and daughters to school. A patriot's way is to fight for his country and the sacrifice of his flesh and blood. He does so for the sake of his descendants. We're now on page 348, number 60. A patriot is ready to sacrifice his or her family, relatives, and tribes for the sake of the nation. A faithful wife is ready to sacrifice herself for the sake of her husband, and a filial son sacrifices himself for his parents. Sacrifice is the basic principle. Sacrifice for the sake of goodness. Sacrifice means denying oneself. Perfect sacrifice is total self-denial. 61. For citizens of a nation, the way of truth is to serve the leader of the nation with unchanging devotion. This is the way of a patriot. If we are citizens, we need to go the way of patriots. For members of the human race, the way of truth is to go the way of a world-level saint. As we are members of the human race, we need to go the way of the world-level saints. It means that we love the people of the world beyond the borders of our nation, as we love our brothers and sisters, as we love our spouse. This is the way of truth for the world. 62. In this world, there are people who are loyal to their family. There are people who are loyal to their community, and there are people who are loyal to their nation. Those who are loyal to their nation make the condition to leave a legacy, to pass on to their national ideals as a tradition to their descendants. However, Everyone living in this earthly world is destined to stand at the court of judgment. To prepare us for it, religions teach us to become not simply patriots who are loyal to our nation, or children who are filial to our parents, but children who are filial to God, the Father of the entire world and the King of kings and the Lord of lords. This is the right way that all religions teach. 63. It is said that a person whose loyalty is for his nation is a patriot, and a person who loves humanity and the world beyond the borders of his nation is a saint. The principle defines the right way for filial children toward their family, patriots for the nation, saints for the world, and divine sons and daughters for the sake of heaven and earth. We are called to be people who, like Jesus, connect humankind with love to the law of heavenly kingdom and to the decrees that come from the heavenly palace. This way leads us in one straight line. On the other hand, the love of the devil goes the opposite way. That is why the habits of those in Satan's side are 180 degrees different from those on heaven's side. Historically, the character of people on Satan's side is to demand that others invest for their sake, whereas the character of people on God's side is to give of themselves for the sake of others. In the end, it is the latter who become owners. 64. What is the difference between a patriot and a saint? A patriot does not go beyond his or her nation, but a world-level saint transcends his or her nation. So page 349. The love of a saint is not limited to one nation. That person lives a life of love, enduring hardships and suffering for the sake of humanity and the world. 65. Christianity speaks of sons and daughters of God, people who are like Jesus. These divine sons and daughters represent all the realms of love and work of the heavenly kingdom, and they represent the realm of love for humanity on earth. Beyond this, divine sons and daughters are equipped with internal and external qualities of the heavenly kingdom. They uphold the kingship of the palace. They live a life of love. Divine sons and daughters are different from world-level saints. Saints, even world-level saints, endeavored to love humanity based on brotherly love, a somewhat nebulous concept. Divine sons and daughters, on the other hand, focus their love on building God's kingdom, the kingdom of heaven on earth and kingdom of heaven in heaven. Their subject matter is eternal. People in a nation live for their generation, but the kingdom of heaven's sovereignty should represent eternity. Sons and daughters of God are those who pledge to center their love on the sovereignty of the kingdom of heaven to the very end. 66. What is the way of divine sons and daughters? It represents the tradition of loyal and filial piety. But for the sake of the invisible spirit world as well as this visible human world, the way of divine sons and daughters requires sacrificing the love of even the great world-level saints in order to pave the way to a higher love. When Jesus Christ came to earth, he knew the law of divine sons and daughters, and how to follow the right way of a divine son. Therefore, he loved even his enemies. 67. The founders of the great religions are world-level saints, people who love the world. All religious leaders should follow the right way of these saints. Theirs was the path to love the world, transcending human history and national borders or boundaries. Theirs was a love that has lasted for thousands of years. Then, who are divine sons and daughters, like Jesus? They are the people who are centered on God and who love God's kingdom and his sovereignty. 68. Filial children are those people in a family who love their children and live for their sake. Patriots are people who love their nation and live for its sake, and saints are people who love the world and live for its sake. I'm teaching you to become divine sons and daughters who love God and the universe by living for their sake. In order to become a divine child of God, you need to have a loving heart like God. 69. What is the common thread running through human history? Even though the world is fallen, history has unfolded based on ethics and morality. The center of morality is love. We're now on page 350. Filial children are those who love their parents more and more. Patriots are those who love their country more and more. The path of the saint teaches us to transcend nationality and love the world. The world-level saints takes it as their duty to love the world more than they love their own family or own country. The way of divine sons and daughters teaches us to transcend this world and love with the highest love in accordance with the decrees from the heavenly palace. All these levels unfold in this way, centering on love. 70. Once you become a patriot, you are automatically a filial child. As a patriot, you stand above tens of thousands of filial children. When you become a world-level saint who is on a higher level than